Hey,
Hey, Carmine, how you doing?
very well. How are you doing, Nick?
Doing okay. You got quite a collection back there. That
Oh,
is, those DVDs are games.
DVDs and Blu-rays, and the games are in the other room. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Uh,
as you can see, I'm still a very huge fan, physical media.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you as well, or have you gone
Not
all digital?
it, it's not that I don't appreciate them. I never began the collection. Like
All
I
right.
wish I did. I would have started collecting way back when, but a lot of my friends have collections like this, like organized and lined up like a library of stuff. And every time I see one, I get wide-eyed and I get really jealous. So
All right. All
that is,
right. Okay.
yeah, very much,
Awesome.
especially games.
Especially games, yes. Well, I don't have as much games as I have DVDs and Blu-rays, but still, yeah.
Still cool. What's up? How you
Nick,
doing?
thank you so much for your time today. Seriously,
Yeah,
pleasure talking to you.
yeah, it's fun being here, man. We're very excited. We're gearing up for the series release, and we're really excited to share that with the whole world.
It's not far away.
1 week and counting. Yeah.
I loved the previous animated movies, like the Generation, Damnation, and then Vendetta. And it's been
Mhm.
long since Vendetta, so I was very
Yeah.
happy when this was announced, and of course now that it's finally here.
Yeah, we shot it I think it was 2019. We shot this in Japan. So we've been waiting a long time too. It's been about 2.5 years.
So when you voiced, when you did Resident Evil 2, did you already know that you were gonna work on Infinite Darkness as well?
Nope. Nope. I found out probably about 4 months before Resident Evil 2 was released. That's when I found out that they wanted to shoot this
Wow.
project.
All right.
Yeah. It came as a surprise. I had no idea.
Wow. A pleasant surprise.
Oh yeah. To shoot something to work on like in a video game IP in Japan is that's like mind blowing to me because
And surreal, right?
Capcom has been one of my favorite developers for 30 years, and to work with them like in their home country is just very special to me. Yeah,
Oh, I believe you that. I 100% believe you that.
yeah, big
But
time.
as you know best, we aren't allowed to discuss, like specific stuff about the show because, of course, we don't want to give away anything.
Yeah,
And of course, we want the audience to be surprised as much as possible, of course. But what we can say is that Leon, he speaks about the events of Raccoon City. And everyone,
hmm
of course, who played Resident Evil 2 knows that day one did not go that well at RPD for him back then.
no.
And so I was wondering what went wrong on day one of your very first voice work.
What went wrong?
Yeah.
Well, my first day of voice work was actually the first day of mocap as well. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean that we record at the same time. So the first day of Resident Evil 2, way back when, that was my first official voiceover gig in video games. What went wrong? I found that it was a bit different than my film work because you had all this like equipment on, you have the mocap suit on, all this technology, you have battery packs on you, you have a helmet with a camera, like so much, you feel like a robot, like a cyborg. And
So, like a
I'm
lot of
not used
distractions.
a lot of distractions and I just wasn't used to that. And I remember the director saying, just try to get over it real quick that all this stuff is here. I'm used to action films where you have like the wardrobe on and you're on a set and you've got guns and a cool outfit, and that just
All right.
wasn't the case. So I felt like I was in a leotard, like in pajamas or something. So I just had to get used to it. And then we fell into a groove and we filmed that for over 2.5 years. So I would say that's what went wrong was maybe my expectations and the differences between film and what I was comfortable with versus mocap.
All right. And what about, because we can also say that, that the Leon um, did a huge development between Raccoon City and Infinite Darkness.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, what would you say has been like the biggest development about your art so far?
Since I stepped into the mocap stage for the first time in 2016, filming RE2. I have learned a lot and trained a lot in motion capture. I've been pushing myself physically. I've been training more with voiceover and just trying to become a better performer than I was. What else? As far as the character goes, there were a lot of things I wanted to do with Leon in RE2, but it wasn't necessarily fitting for the character because back then he was still just a rookie cop.
Right.
And with my inspirations and influences in film and characters in film, iconic characters, I kind of wanted to bring more of like a cowboy type character, like a little bit more badass. And I had to reel that instinct in Resident Evil 2 because he was just a rookie, a little naive and young. And now, at least with Infinite Darkness, I got to bring a little bit of that cowboy in, change the attitude. And he's a bit jaded now. He knows the world is not all sunshine and rainbows, so I was happy about that.
And it's of course the circumstances that turned Leon into a better, well, let's say, zombie killer, of course. And it's funny because sometimes well, not always bad stuff, but something happens, and for whatever reason it turns you into you become better at what you do. For example, I remember when I was in school, everyone was afraid of our French teacher because she was very very tough, but we had, like, whenever we did a test, we were so good. And when the teacher left and we got a new one, everyone became so bad because the teacher was like, if you don't learn, it's your stuff. So I was wondering if you remember also something, that if you remember a specific day or something specific that turned you into a better artist.
Well, that right there, what you're describing, that's called baptism under fire. It's a bit serendipitous when you weren't looking for it, but that always usually comes when you are pushed. I mean, the French teacher is a great example. I remember filming with the director of Resident Evil 2, and I remember the first day. This guy is renowned in Los Angeles and actually all over the world. He directs a lot of big video games, and he's very, very, very good at what he does. His style was just completely alien to me, the way that he directed. And he comes from a theater background, and I don't. He could teach and act in Shakespeare plays, and that's just not where I come from. It's not my school of thought. And so he really pushed me, intimidated me a bit, but I got to understand his genius, and we came out with a really good project at the end, and I really understood him, and I respect him even more at this point. His name is Tom Keegan, fantastic guy. He's a good human, great human, and very talented director. So I think he pushed me to see things in a different way, and he made me a better performer for sure.
Oh, that's awesome, Nick. That's awesome, really. And what's legendary about Resident Evil in the games, of course, is going back and forth the whole time. You always find a closed door, and you always have to go back to find stuff in order to finally make it through the door. And I was wondering if going back and forth is something you can relate to as an artist. What was how much back and forth was necessary until you were finally able to open like the big door you wanted to open?
That's a great question, actually. I've never been asked that before. Well, acting in its nature, to succeed in the industry of acting, whether that's film, commercial, TV, music videos, video games, or theater, it really doesn't matter. It takes a ridiculous amount of so many things. Persistence, stubbornness, talent, training, inner drive, like you name it. It just takes so much because you see, I've worked in so many different industries, so many different ones. And they all have something in common that the acting industry does not. And that is once you have the job over here in one of these industries, once you have the job, you have it. And that's typically what you do for the next 6 months to a year. Granted, you don't get fired, or hopefully you get promoted, but it's semi-secure as long as you know what you're doing. With acting, you are constantly at square one. You could be doing a big project, huge project, and then it debuts and wow, you're famous for 10 minutes. And then a month later, you're auditioning at the bottom again, looking for your next
Wow.
job continuously. It's just like you never really feel secure. I know actors who have been in the business for 20 years and they have been in some big projects and you've seen their face in movies and they're still auditioning like a bat out of hell. Like it
Wow.
was their first year of acting, just trying to get the next job. So it's like, that's like going back and forth to the same door, trying this key, trying this key, trying this key when you audition
Right.
300 times a year and you get 296 no's and 4 of them open. And those 4 could change your life. And that's
Right.
why you got to be a little bit insane to want to do what I do.
But that's interesting because that's what a lot of people don't know, that whenever you're finally able to open the door, what awaits you behind the door is, yes, of course, your goal, but also the next closed doors, of course. And of course, in the games, that's the same. You open a door and then you see like 3 new ones that are closed. I
Yeah.
was wondering, how do you make sure you always find, the next key that takes you to the next section of your life? How do you make sure you don't get yourself stuck in your own gameplay in life?
You have an interesting way of asking questions and relating them to
Thank
video
you.
games. That's a talent. I really like it.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
After many interviews about this stuff, this one feels a lot different.
Oh, wow. Happy to hear
Well,
that.
that's a good question too. How do I put that? Well, I talk a lot in life about expectations, and if you go forward with all of these expectations, you're often going to get disappointed because life has a funny way of just doing whatever the hell it wants. Can I swear in this?
All right.
Can I swear in this interview?
Yeah, absolutely. We in Germany,
Okay.
Switzerland, no one can.
Well, it does whatever the fuck it wants, and so I guess what I'm saying is, I think you need to take with you in life your experiences, and that should inform you moving forward. But once you open that locked door, you don't really know what's behind it. You kind of got to go in a little bit blind, optimistic, with a lot of faith. And if you see something that you're not familiar with, you never experienced it before, you just got to find a way to make it happen. You got to learn what you need to learn if you want to get past that next door.
Mhm.
And so I'm constantly surprised. That's what's fascinating about this industry. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to stay afloat, but it changes like on the like weekly, it changes. In life, I get a little bored. I'm a commitment phobe in the way that I never wanted a job where I knew what I was going to do for the next 10 years and go to the same office. Like that's just not for me. And so
Mhm.
this industry takes me to a lot of places, takes me to a lot of countries. Working here, working there, conventions, meeting fans. Like it's just something new
Yeah.
all the time. It's very fresh.
And a lot of people, whenever they try to chase their dreams, and they try and they try and they don't succeed. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, sometimes I cheated, when I played video games, and I stopped with that very early because I realized when I cheat, I'm not satisfied. When it's not my achievement, when it's not
Mm.
me that solved the puzzle, I'm just not. I'm like, I'm disappointed actually, because it doesn't matter if it takes you like hours or days, but when you make it, it feels like, so you're like, wow. And I feel like that, a lot of people in real life try to, uh, or would like to have, like a cheat code for life. They try so much and they go like, damn, if I just could get myself there, with a snap. And I was wondering if, you know, when during the time you try to get your foot in, did you ever reach a moment you kind of wish you would have like a cheat code?
Yeah, sure. And I understand what you're saying. Of course, when you are grinding for say 6 months and you audition 200 times or something and you're just getting rejected left and right, sometimes you go through those like valleys and you say to yourself like, why am I doing this? Like nothing's really working out. But look, like with any pursuit in life, I really do believe that you gotta you got to do your best to enjoy the journey too.
Mm-hmm.
If you are miserable for 4 years pursuing this goal out there, and if you were miserable for that entire 4 years, you just wasted 4 years of your life. You might as well enjoy it. Enjoy the ups and the downs. And I know it's hard
Right.
to say that, but looking back on my career, I've been acting for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just recently got a little good exposure from a very special role that fell into my lap after all that time. But looking back, I hit rock bottom a couple times, but I enjoyed this. I met a lot of good people on the way. I took them in. Um, and I really do think you just have to enjoy life as it comes. And if you reach those goals, great. But you have to be flexible in case that doesn't happen. It goes back to life will do whatever it wants.
Right. Yeah, and one thing that is also very iconic about the Resident Evil games, of course, are the item boxes, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you of course you find like a new great weapon, and then you go like yes, and then you look, you check your inventory and you go like no, I can't take it with me. And sometimes you have like free blue flowers, and you will like you go like, why didn't I leave them in the box? Why I don't need them, and I feel like it's the same whenever we chase dreams, because sometimes when we chase our dreams, we have to leave a lot behind, and a lot behind that we kind of wanted to take with us, but also stuff that we are glad we can leave behind. So I was wondering, when you started off to chase your dreams, what are the things that you loved leaving behind?
Oh, there was quite a bit actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, this industry, because you are always at square one, always searching for the next job, like week to week. It takes a lot of energy and effort to make anything happen. You have to keep busting it out. And geez, I had to shift focuses. I've been a hobby guy all my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many creative hobbies. And when I really devoted my life to acting and learning everything about it that I could and just really grinding out, um, my art drawing took a back seat. I didn't pick up a pencil to draw for a decade.
Okay.
That was a really special hobby of mine for the first 20 years of my life. And I just pushed it to the back seat.
Wow.
It's kind of sad. I stopped building. I didn't have a lot of time to build and craft with my hands. I didn't cook half as much. So a lot of my artistic passions, like all of that energy, I like laser focused into acting because that's what I wanted to do. And now that fortunately I've booked a few projects that are opening some doors for me, I have a little bit more free time where I'm not auditioning 50 times a week, and I have a little bit extra free time. And so I'm getting back
Right.
into those hobbies right now,
Wow.
especially drawing and art and building. That's those make me very happy, and I'm getting back into those.
That is awesome, because a lot of people, of course, don't want to leave behind anything, so they want to keep everything, but maybe they don't realize that this is what kind of stops them from getting somewhere.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was growing up with all those hobbies, I would do all of them when I was younger. And my mother would see me bouncing from thing to thing to thing and interest to interest. And she said, why don't you just pick one or two of them and get really good at them?
Yeah.
And she has a point there because I've been playing guitar since I was 16 for like almost 20 years. Am I great?
Oh,
No, but I'm not great. And that's the point, is a 20-year guitar player should be pretty damn decent. I can jam and fiddle and riff around and play some 80s metal and stuff, but I'm not great. Um, I'm a pretty good artist, but I could be a lot better and faster. I'm a pretty good builder, but I could be this and that. So I believe in life that we all have a finite amount of energy
mm-hmm.
every single day of our lives. For every person, it's different.
Absolutely.
It's finite. You can't do everything. And I think whatever you really, really choose to focus on, that's what you will tell the universe you want. And now that some of the acting stuff is taking care of itself and I have some momentum, I can take some of that energy and put it over here and put it over here and get back to my hobbies.
Awesome. And what about risks? Because in the games, whenever you um whenever you run out of ink ribbon, that's not good for you, because it means that you will have to play a long section without saving your game. And so you have to take a risk, and you have to risk losing a certain area, of course. And so I was wondering, so far, what would you say has been like the biggest risk that you took in your career, but one that felt necessary to you?
Uh, Financially, it's tough. A lot of actors that I know, some of them at some point in their career, they're working like 2 to 3 jobs just
Mhm.
to support themselves, pay the bills, and be available for auditions in the daytime. It's a crazy lifestyle, and I've always said that the industry is a very high risk but high reward industry. You bust your ass, and for the first 6 years of acting, I made peanuts. I went from making good money in hotels
Mhm.
and hospitality to almost nothing for many years. And I
Okay.
had to work all these little side gigs. I worked for AAA, roadside service. I was a light
Oh,
duty mechanic,
mhm.
painting houses, doing this, anything I could find. And I was really just scrapping by for a long time. That's one of the risks, is turning down a good paying job when you're 25. I threw that in the garbage to do this. I'd say that's one of the bigger ones. I would say this financial risk.
Mhm. And some things it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems, even harder to take that risks when there are people around you that are trying to talk you out of it, right?
Yeah, my parents gave me a lot of sound advice.
Oh,
They didn't tell me not to do it, but they wanted me to understand the decision I was about to make. So when I decided to act, the US economy had just crashed. We were going through our recession in 2008, 2009. I don't know if you remember that.
well, yeah.
There was a lot of hardship in the country. A lot of people were getting laid off from their jobs, career people, family men and women. And I had a great paying job that was stable in hospitality. And I decided to quit that during a recession to make
Really?
nothing acting. I was in acting, I was making like maybe $1,000 a year, maybe.
Oh, wow, really?
That's it. And so that's why I had all the side jobs and side gigs. And my parents just said, "You understand what you're doing, right?" I said, "I understand." And they said, "Good luck."
But hey, look where we are now.
They were very supportive throughout the journey, and without their support, things might have been different.
Right. Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing, Nick. And I'd like to go back to the safe rooms. I don't know about you, but whenever I played, I loved visiting the safe rooms just to take a break from all the chaos out there. It was like I need to breathe before I figure out how I get rid of the liquor. you know and I feel like sometimes we all have those places or rooms where we feel like like very safe. So I was wondering, where do you usually like to go whenever you want to have a break from everything? Do you have like a favorite
Um,
place or something?
Lately, sometimes where I go to try to clear my head or see something more clearly is I like to go to the ocean
All right.
at night when not many people are around. I love the sound of it, the crashing waves, and they just remind me that no matter what I'm worrying about, no matter what's going on, the waves just, they're so loud, and the ocean breeze is hitting you, and it's very constant. It's calming, but it's constant. And I kind of let that symbolize, like, no matter what happens, life is going to go on.
Right.
Have fun with it. And if you want to take a risk, like, I'm no stranger to risks. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You can't control it, but let's hope for the best.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Nick, my last question to you will be like, when before Resident Evil 2 came out, I remember some friends telling me, well, I don't know if that's going to work, bringing back, that back and forth and collecting items and stuff like that. Um, and I was so happy to see how well it was received back then, because I felt like what might feel old and forgotten might actually be something that feels fresh and new in the future. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think things go in cycles for a reason. Um, it was a classic game mechanic back then, and I think bringing it into a modern setting, I think they really hit that fine balance of giving us what we had, but updating it and
Hmm.
not making it feel so redundant. And I think Mr. X was a good gimmick there, to like a game mechanic to put in there to change up your gameplay every time, because
Absolutely.
you could play the game 50 times and never experience Mr. X foiling your plans the same way. I think
Yes,
it was a
exactly.
brilliant, it was brilliant. And again, I can go back to this for almost everything. Mr. X represents life. It's like
Right.
you've got this plan. It's like, oh, I got to go up there and unlock that door and I'm good. I get out of here. And you go there and he's right in front of you and you're like, shit, you got to turn around. Expectations, man. They're no good. That's why I think a lot of people maybe relate to the game.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely.
The remake is going to be a classic in 20 years. You watch.
Oh, absolutely. For me, it's already a modern classic. So,
Mm.
you know, I grew up with the franchise and it has always been my favorite. It was actually kind of tough to, when Resident Evil 2 came out, of course, I was 10 years old. So it's not really the first thing parents would want to buy you. They
Right.
will usually want to take you to the Lion King. And
Right.
so,
That was my exact issue, was when
right.
Resident Evil 1 came out, I was 12. And
Wow.
my cousin told me about the game, told me it was about zombies and blowing their heads off. And I wanted to play back then, but my mom wouldn't let me. So then 2 years later, when I was 14, 2 came out and I slept over a friend's house. And he's like, "Do you want to play the sequel?" I was like, "Yeah."
Of course you want.
And I fell in love with 2 when I was 14.
That's amazing. And I feel like, I don't know how about you, but I feel like, what you love and watch and play when you are a kid or a teenager
Mm.
is stuff that kind of, you will love that forever as an adult as well. If you will start playing Resident Evil, I don't know, at the age of 30, you will have like a different connection to it.
Yeah, 100%. Um, it's nostalgic for me. I'm very connected with the games of my childhood. That's why I still play Nintendo games. I play NES games, Super Nintendo games, some Sega, PlayStation 1. Like those games will always be special to me. And anytime I play them, it brings me back to my childhood. And I think it keeps me young. You know,
Right.
I don't ever want to feel my age.
But do in my case, it was actually my father's fault that I started to love Resident Evil because do you remember like the Toy Biz toys from Resident Evil 2 back then?
Probably not. No.
But I was like in the store, in a video game store, and they had like toys from Resident Evil 2. And I looked at the toy from William Birkin and I stared at it for so long. And my father kind of knew that I'm totally into this thing, no. So I had it, then he gave that to me on Christmas. And then of course
Sweet.
after that, I wanted to know, well, what is Resident Evil? So
That's
that's
cool.
how you developed, like interest. And so
That's really cool.
I had to do it.
You still have that?
I unboxed them, of course, as a kid because you want to play with them. But I bought them all again. So I knew they are like over 20 years old, but I was able to find some that are in phenomenal condition. So very happy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I also have, of course, the Leon versions that are based on your Leon.
Sweet. I gotta get those myself. Actually, I should collect them because that project is very special to me
Right. How
for a
many
lot
do
of
you have right
reasons.
now?
How many have I played?
How many toys do you have from Leon right now, or collectibles or anything?
I
Oh, you have it right there. Oh, that's amazing.
my little plushie. This is a mini
Hey,
Leon.
Leon.
Is my son.
Oh,
I want to start collecting more though. I really do. If like I owe it to the franchise and I owe it to my childhood. You know.
awesome.
Mm.
Hey, Nick, seriously, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Seriously, it was a huge pleasure talking to you again. I love your response. It's so insightful and inspiring. And I hope we can repeat that. Of course, all the best with, the release of Infinite Darkness. Very excited for the world to see it. And
thank you. We are too. And thank you for your like very, very insightful and interesting questions. I'm telling you, I've done probably maybe 30 interviews. And
wow.
These questions that you had, they were just more interesting than most. I'll tell you, honestly. Thank you.
Wow. Now you turn me, you make me blush right now. No, seriously, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nick. Seriously.
Yeah, I hope the people like it. Hope the fans like it. And to the fans, thank you for your support. There's a reason why Resident Evil has gone on for 25 years, and that's because of people like you. So thank you very much, and enjoy Infinite Darkness.
Amazing. We all will. Thank you so much, Nick, again, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Take care.